Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Masterpiece. I am your host, Brian Hirsch. I also happen to be the CEO for the Arts and Cultural Alliance of Sarasota County. And Behind the Masterpiece is brought to us by our friends at Visit Sarasota. You can always go to visitsarasota.com to catch this episode and many others. We have a very special episode today. Joining me is the Executive Director of the John and Mabel Ringling Museum for Art, Mr. Stephen High. Stephen, welcome to Behind the Masterpiece.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
It's awesome to have you. The Ringling is an amazing place. It's got quite a presence and quite a history here in Sarasota. Can you tell us what was John Ringling's sort of vision and legacy for creating this art museum?
Well, John, was a very successful businessman running the circus, traveling all over the world. And he chanced upon Sarasota in, I think it was 1909. And he decided to build a house next to a business colleague of his. And he bought the property, and there was a house on it, and he and Mabel chose to live there for many years. And then into the 30s, they decided to build this beautiful mansion, the Cottazon, and that happened in the 20s. And then by about 24 or so, the house was complete. They were moving in, and he had this vision to create an art museum, and an art museum in the South, in an area that was very high humidity, which is not a good idea with fine art. Yeah. Yet he pursued it anyway. Hired an architect, Phillips, who was actually architect for part of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So he hired an architect and had him design this incredible building that houses all the major work that John Ringling acquired, as well as years and years of work after John's passing that we have acquired for the museum. So that his goal, I think, was to create a legacy. I think he was following some of the path of some of the previous people from the Gilded Age era. John was a little younger than that, but he saw what they accomplished with their wealth by providing libraries, museums, other types of using their capital to help support people within their communities and provide entertainment and provide knowledge to folks. So he wanted to have that same take on his legacy, and he decided to pursue art. And at the time that he began, which was in 1925, there was a lot of work on the market. There was, particularly in Europe, there was a lot of tax issues going on, and people sort of unable to afford these major paintings or to be able to even care for them. And so John went with a dealer that he worked with, Bowler was his name, and they scoured the Europe for great buys, and also they were really looking at works that had a pedigree of some sort or another. Either they were in a major collection that was being sold, or so he was always kind of looking for work that had some stature when he bought it, and that's been fortunate for us because many of the works in the collection are very significant pieces that he made that he acquired. So he did that for 5 years, a little bit so he started in 25 and kind of ended in 30. He bought a couple things in 31 and then he was done. He was in a situation where he was property rich. He owned land all over the country, yet he was cash poor, and so he had to sort of stop acquisitions, both of artwork and of circuses. At the same time, he was buying circuses, trying to sort of monopolize the circus business for the circus that he toured. And so, this all kind of came to a halt in 31, and then he passed away in 36. Mabel, by the way, his wife, who they built a house and the museum together, she passed away in 29, I believe. So after that period of time, John, in just an amazing gift, decided to bequeath the entire estate, the museum, the house. Those were the two main items on the property. He bequeathed the entire estate to the citizens of Florida. And so it took 10 years from 1936 to 1946 to pay off all the creditors, to sell off all the parcels of land over the country that they had acquired, drill oil wells. He had really great wealth, and they were able to sell that and then start the museum in 1946. So those are the early days. And in 1946, they hired this incredible director, Chick Austin, who had been running a museum. He was young. He was running a museum in Connecticut. He went to try his hand in the movies out west, and then was hired to come and become the director of the museum here. He was a scholar, a Baroque scholar, as well as a contemporary art scholar, and also a magician that he was very proud of. And so Chick came to town, and Chick is the one who really recognized the importance of circus in this community, because remember, John Ringling brought the winter quarters down from Connecticut to Sarasota in, I think it was 27, I think. And so it was circuit, Sarasota became this circus town and still is to this day. And so Chick Austin, Harvard-trained art historian, understood that circus was an art form where most people weren't really looking at it from that perspective, and he began collecting circus artifacts that he found around here. And in 1949, I think it was 48 or 49, he founded the first circus museum in the United States, right here on our campus.
So that became an additional part of the Ringling Museum. So obviously you have the estate, the Katazan, the Museum of Art, and so now there is a circus museum that came to be.
Yeah, it was in his garage, and so that's where it got started. And it's grown. The garage is still there. We actually have using one side as a gallery. Well, two sides as a gallery. In the middle, there's a ticket wagon. But that was the garage, and then he expanded it to the front with a circular entryway that he could bring carts in, the circus wagons into that, and that was the original museum. And it's grown. But it's still there. The original part is still there, and it's grown significantly to include, a huge area where we show the rail car that he first bought and used to tag along to do the front work in the circus. He was the front man who would go and make sure everything was in place before the circus arrived. And we've just acquired his Rolls Royce.
Wow!
It's been in the circus, been in the car museum across the street from us. It originally was in the garage, and so when Chick was building the trying to start his circus collection, he needed to get rid of the cars, so he sold them to the car dealership across the street, and then we just acquired it back about 4 or 5 months ago.
Wow!
And we'll be putting it into the right next to the rail car in a month or so.
So many evolutions of the Ringling Museum. And of course, people can find all this information by going to ringling.org. We are talking to the executive director of the John and Mabel Ringling Museum of Art, Stephen High. And you can catch all of these episodes of Behind the Masterpiece on visitsarasota.com as well. Stephen, so obviously a great art museum with many, 16th to 20th century European work, but and you've got a circus museum, yet you're still collecting. You're still, as you just said, whether it's acquiring a car, but in addition to those Peter Paul Rubens that are so legendary, there's more. There's modern art. There's the Chow Center for Asian Art. How have these things added to that Ringling legacy, and where is you sort of headed with modern art and the Chow and all these other additions since the original art museum?
So we kind of look to two pillars in the beginning. One was John and Mabel, and the second was Chick Austin. So Chick introduced to us, John, introduced the museum itself, and I think he would have never had any intention at all of creating a circus museum. So that was his legacy. And he also, in his will, required that we have a free day once a week. Not many art museums, particularly of our size, offer that freedom for people to come and view the collections for free. And so that was a real gift to it became a gift to everyone who visits us, and we have visitors from all over the world. So everyone seems to know Monday is a good day to drop in. We had like 5,000 people here just this last Monday.
Wow.
So so we look at those two pillars kind of as a guide, and so. With the art collection, we wanted to continue expanding the art collection. Chick was, a scholar in Baroque, but he was also very interested in contemporary art and contemporary performance. So he acquired art, contemporary art for the collection in 46 and onwards. He was here for, I think, about 10 years or so before he passed away. And so he did that. But the other thing, and one of the first things he did when he became director here, is he acquired this historic Asolo theater that was a theater in Asolo, Italy, that had been taken down. It was built first opened in it was like 1798, and it was dedicated to Caterina Cornaro, who was the queen in exile from Cyprus. So he brought that work. It was taken down in 1933 with Mussolini. They took it down and packaged it. And then after the war, a dealer there, Afreloi, was farming it around, and Czech bought it. And so we installed it in our gallery 21, which is the large gallery opposite where the Rubens paintings are. And it was a theater in there for probably maybe 12, 13 years. And then the next director of the museum created the Manley building, which was Manley was the second female architect licensor in Florida, and she designed that building. And it was a beautiful building. It was at the end of the original south wing of the north wing of the art museum, and it was, and that's where the Asolo rep began.
Yeah,
that's where they got their name, is from performing at the Asolo Theater. The opera began there.
Sarasota Opera.
Few of their first performances were there. They quickly outgrew that scale. And a number of other performing arts organizations have really gotten their starts there. West Coast Black Theater Group was performing there for quite a while before they were able to get their own space, and that. So it's had a great tradition. But by the 80s, it wasn't big enough really to handle most of the performing arts groups that were here, and so it was closed down. And then eventually in 2001, I believe, it was torn down to make way for the Syrian wing, which is the wing that we have a large expansion for contemporary art. And that's where we do our traveling exhibitions, or when we do major exhibitions that we develop internally. That's where we show them, is in the west side of the Syrian wing. In the middle of the Syrian wing, we acquired a major work by James Turrell. It was the largest Turrell sky space in the world for a number of years. It's been there now for it's like 13 years, or close, right around 13, 14 years. I was lucky enough to be here to open that space and to be with Turrell while they were working on the lighting and everything on it. And so that was a great experience for me. It was like 6 months or so after I joined here. Then, so we have the Turrell space, and that one we actually are in the middle of renovating. We had to switch out all the computers about 6 or 8 years ago. And now what we're doing is we're replacing all of the fixtures, the light fixtures, and all of the lamps, because they had gotten to the point where we couldn't acquire them anymore. They were out of date. So we had to do a brand new system that Turrell has designed. And our contractors are up there right now. I can see it from my window here, working on installing the lights. So we're hoping to be able to reopen that to the public within a couple of months, 3 months maybe most, and bring that back to life. We've had to close it now for about 3 months as we've been working in the space. So it will be coming back. So
It's a
anyway,
magnificent space.
those are spaces, yeah, that have developed since that time.
Yeah, amazing. So many things that happen. So in addition, and I think you really paint the picture for how, John Ringling's legacy is really large and how impactful it's been for Sarasota County, from art to these performances, obviously there, but also so many of our other organizations. I would reference the Ringling as an OG, if you will. It's an original here for Sarasota and has been a precursor for so many things. Talk a little bit more. We talk about the historic Asolo, the hat, as it's affectionately referred to in a lot of ways. There's really some modern performances there. I think that might be a surprise for some, considering the original artwork. So tell us a little bit about how you do that to pair with art that's happening. You have performance as well.
Right. So when they started, I wasn't here at the time, but when they started building out a new plan for the space, this was in about 2002 or three, after FSU, who took over the management or oversight of the museum in 2000. And so with that change in management, up until that point, we had been a standalone government agency that didn't do well as far as raising money. So it was seen as the museum was seen as a state program by the locals, and by the state, they saw it as a local program, so nobody gave money. And so it was really a challenge to keep the buildings in shape. And eventually in the mid-90s, the buildings were in really bad shape. The house was really in bad shape. They were trying to put together a campaign to restore the house, and they raised a bit of money to do that, but not enough that it took. It was like required about $14 to $15 million to do. And so the university came in, was able to leverage money through the governor and through fundraising here that hadn't been done before, and were able to match the funds donated given by the state, and they were able to build a number of buildings. That was the visitor pavilion was built. Howard Tibbles, seeing what was going on there, he was the first to build in this new program, and his building, which houses the circus model, was really one of the first ones up. And then about 10 years later, when I was here, we were able to add a second wing of that for the Tibbles Learning Center. And so it was the visitor center, the Tibbles. We had the Searing wing, Ula Searing, who passed away a couple of years after I first arrived here, had made a great legacy gift to the museum that made that building possible. And so there were a lot of additions to fill out the program. And then since I've been here, we built the Asian wing, and those areas, the tea house, and the Kotler Colville Glass Pavilion. It's a really diverse collection, and the Asian work we happen to have had since right around 2000 a major gift come to us of ceramic works, and then we were able to build off of that into a pretty nice collection of work that both showcases the different sort of areas of the world that is Asia, from Japan through to Southeast Asia, and we have work in collections from all those different areas. And then the last few years, with one of our curators, Rhiannon Paget, has been really building a collection of Japanese prints and really expanding that collection here, as well as doing a number of contemporary programs in the Pavilion Gallery, which is that green building that you see. It's the gallery that's in that building.
Yeah.
And so we've been very active in Asian work, contemporary work. We do a lot of new media and different projects along those lines. We partner with the Hermitage periodically to showcase artists that have received the Greenfield Prize. In fact,
right.
going to be opening an exhibition coming up in the Monda Gallery of a new artist's work attributed to the prize.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on that.
Amazing partnerships, I think, so people can really see a wide range from something as trite to say, but from something old to something new, but really, really impactful, meaningful in a very special and unique setting. We'll get you out of here on this last question. You've talked about. I have
to say one more thing.
Yeah.
And that is John Ringling bought from the Metropolitan Museum about 3,000 pieces of Cypriot art, making our collection here the second largest collection of Cypriot art in the country. And it's been here since, John was around. And we've had it out periodically throughout our history, but never in a significant way. And we've been working the last 3 years on a gallery space that will feature 201 pieces of that collection. And we are just nearing completion of it now. We're doing the final install. And so we will probably be opening that in the fall. So that's a new addition that's in the original art museum. And so I look forward to showing that off to folks when we're able to open it. So
yeah, can't wait. Something old, but something new in that frame. So we've talked about the spaces and what's in those spaces, but the last question, the grounds are really quite remarkable as well. Just being on the campus, so to speak, of the Ringling Museum. Stephen, do you have any favorite highlights as you walk the grounds, or what sticks out to you? As I have several favorite spots, but what's something that you enjoy passing through or being on the grounds of the Ringling Museum?
Well, we actually it's now an arboretum. We established that about 8 or 9 years ago. We have over 200 species of trees and shrubs, and we have and over at that point in time we had over 2,000 examples of those trees and shrubs on our campus. We've been hit a bit, particularly lately, over the last 5 or 6 years, that has impacted us, and most recently it was Milton. When Milton came right over us last year, we saw really horrendous damage in all of our trees. We lost 300 trees in that one storm, and our banyans took a real beating because being in the eye of the storm, as you go through it, they were hit really hard with the back end of the storm and really twisted the trees up. They're very flexible and they just kind of tied in the knots. So that has been a sad thing for us, but they're really quite beautiful even now, because you can see more of the trunks and you can see more of how they grow. They will be coming back, and they will recover. They're recovering, and they are beautiful now and will continue to be beautiful. But that's one of the challenges of running a museum and an arboretum right on the shore of Sarasota Bay when we get hit with these types of storms.
It's the gift and the curse, right? But it's it's a gift and a curse. You're in one of the most beautiful settings, but it's vulnerable at times.
So one of my favorite spots is actually Mabel's garden, not the rose garden, but her own little private garden that's right near where the gravesite is for both Mabel and John and John's sister's Ida. And so that is, it's just a beautiful little place. We have the garden club, local garden club, comes and helps us with that space, keeping it in good shape. And no, it's a beautiful place to go. We also have the tree walk, which is on the opposite side of the campus. Those trees took a hit too with Milton. In fact, we're still in the process of getting to the point to restore the the walkway that goes along the bay. That was ripped up quite a bit by the storm. And we're still going through FEMA kind of things on it. But but that tree walk is also a very beautiful place. And then finally, one of the more unusual things we have is the garden right outside of the visitors pavilion. It's a lot of bamboo and different types of trees and shrubs, but it's a beautiful little place that you can sit inside the area and just relax and enjoy yourself. So lots of different places to go.
So many magical spaces on the campus and of the John and Mabel Ringling Museum of Art. We were talking to Stephen High, the executive director, and faculty member as well at Florida State, senior faculty. So many things at the Ringling Museum. You can always go to ringling.org to learn more, to visit all of these magnificent spaces, to see these amazing collections. And of course, you can go to visitsarasota.com to hear Behind the Masterpiece. Stephen High, thank you so much for being on Behind the Masterpiece.
Well, thank you for having me, Brian. It's always fun to talk.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Behind the Masterpiece, brought to you by Visit Sarasota County. For more and to hear this podcast, go to visitsarasota.com.